On this episode of the podcast, I am joined once again by my buddy, coach, and BJJ black belt, Chewy Albin. We discussed the Bernardo Faria seminar that we held at the gym. We also discussed prepping for the Jiu-Jitsu Master Worlds and Chewy's victory at a tournament in Tennessee called the Kumite. So you guys stick around, and thanks for joining us. Chinese food.
From the sushi place?
Yeah.
So you're getting like hibachi?
No, I'm just getting fried rice. That's all I want, fried rice.
Golly, after your mud butt?
Oh, my
What are you thinking, dude?
I don't know. I've got water somewhere.
You're going to dehydrate.
Oh, dude, I've been feeling like booty. I'm sitting with the Jean-Claude Van Chewy today, the Kumite champion.
Pretty much the Frank Dukes of Jiu-Jitsu.
I fucking like that. I like that a lot.
I like that shirt that John
I wish you made that shirt because it is amazing.
I'm actually, I have my guy looking at it.
Okay, well, your guy needs to make it happen because it's going to be a winner.
We'll do a small batch and see what we sell.
Chewy is still probably on cloud nine from the Kumite seminar, or
the Kumite seminar? Do we have Frank Dukes come out?
Can I we're doing some split back spinning split jumping kicks.
Yeah, and then we learned how to break bricks and then do Dimmock.
The death touch. All right, so Chewy is fresh off of his Kumite victory and also still probably geeking out over Bernardo Faria being at the gym, which I think we all were like little schoolgirls. So Chewy, tell me the process about like getting him out here. What was kind of your thought process and
my thought process on getting him out here? You stopped. I was waiting for you to finish. What happened?
This is not starting out too well.
Why did you stop? Did you have a brain fart?
No.
Well, you must have.
I think I'm dehydrated.
I think you're delirious.
I think too much energy went to my poops today. All right.
That's what happens when you eat crappy wings.
Oh God, that was terrible. No, like just tell me kind of your thought process in wanting to get somebody out here, just in general, and then how you kind of focused in on Bernardo as a good choice.
Okay, so, what had happened was, first off, with Bernardo, I met him a couple of years ago when I was in New York at Marcelo Garcia's. I went to Marcelo's gym because, obviously when you're training or traveling, you have to train at least once and training at a different gym. That's why you folks listen. You always bring a gi with you on trips and vacations.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've made that mistake numerous times.
And then so we stopped at Marcelo's and I got to train there. And Marcelo wasn't there that evening, but Bernardo was. And for me personally, that was actually, again, there's nothing wrong with Marcelo. Marcelo's a monster, and I would have loved to train under him and learn a little bit. But I was pretty excited to learn from Bernardo because Bernardo in Jiu-Jitsu is the same weight class as I am.
Right.
And so he plays a double or over-under. I do over-under. He plays deep half guard. I play deep half guard. So basically it's a lot of the same stuff. And that's because I mimicked a lot of the things that I saw him do.
Right.
When he got into the scene in 2010 was the first time I really was exposed to his game. He was crushing everybody at the heavyweight division at the time, and he looked great doing it. And so I was like, man, this is a guy that moves like I move, and he's just better at it. And so I started to mimic a lot of the things that he was doing, and then it was really cool to bring him out here because then you get to feel, because feel is the most important thing. Like you can see a move, but to really feel what the person's doing, you're like, oh, that's what he's doing, and then you get all the little details about the things. So, we got to bring him out, and then we kind of going backwards a little bit when the thought process was, I'd been wanting to bring someone out right to the gym. And this is going to sound a little funky, but I was wanting to bring someone out to the gym I've been thinking about this for over a year now because for us, it's our 10-year anniversary.
Right.
We've been here in the same location for exactly 10 years. And so for me, I was like, man, I really would like to do something super cool for the students and the guys here, because our jiu-jitsu program has been here for 10 years. And, I remember I couldn't think about it. And I know this is going to sound funny, and people listening is like, oh, what the fuck is he talking about? I was doing one of the float tanks, right? And so I was, I don't know. And then I was in the float tank, right? And then, like, I remember, like, you get into that weird state where your mind just, like, thoughts are they're just flying through. And it popped in. I was like, I need to bring in someone really, like a big person, like a really like a big name or something,
right?
And just give it to him, right? And so it's weird how things work, man. Like, you have that in your brain, you want to do it, and so it's like, okay, I want to bring in a big name and I want to give it to him. Like, I don't like one of the coolest things that we did back in 2013 is we gave a free seminar away to the guys, right? We gave a 2-day seminar to the students for free. Well, I was like, I'd like to do the same thing. And then, sure enough, like, things worked out to where I could do it, and we made it happen. And we were able to take Bernardo Faria and give him away. I took donations for people that wanted to give them for competitors. But otherwise, it was free to the students. And if anybody came from outside the gym, they pay $80, which is still dirt cheap.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
For him. And it was a great experience,
Yeah.
And it was really fun for me to be able to give that to people because, again, you don't hear about gyms giving away, a world champion seminar like that for nothing.
Well, it doesn't happen.
It just doesn't happen. And it's like, but it worked out, and I was super stoked about it. And again, I am still geeking out because, again, as I said, this guy was someone that, man, I mimicked that dude's style. Love watching him.
Right. And
then to bring him in to give them to the students as just a gift was really fun.
Yeah, it was, I think, probably one of my favorite memories so far as a jiu-jitsu player. To watching him walk in, and I was like, holy crap, it's really him. And you're just like, how's he going to act? Like, what's he going to be like? What'd you think as far as, like I guess you flew him down, and you picked him up. What was like your first? What was your first instinct, or did you like? What was your first impression of him?
So I met him before at Marcelo's. He's very nice. I've seen videos of him. Obviously, seems very nice. And so when I picked him up from the airport, I was crossing my fingers. I actually sent a text message to my girlfriend, Jess, and I was like, man, I hope he's not a weirdo. Because there's a lot of people in jiu-jitsu that are really good jiu-jitsu competitors. They're fucking weird dudes, man. And I don't mean anything by it. They're just
socially awkward.
Yeah, we're like a little socially awkward, a little weird, you know what I mean? And then just even with people, sometimes you don't click with someone, and it can be hard to, like, communicate with them. And so I picked him up. And, I mean, it was instantly, we started bullshitting and started talking about jiu-jitsu. We were talking about all kinds of website stuff that we do on our back end of our website. We're just going with her, just having a good time. And I was like, thank God. Like, this guy's super, super nice. And, again, as nice as he is, as nice as he has been, I mean, it was like, again, me and Chris Dukes were laughing about it because it's like, man, that's going to be a hard seminar to top.
Right.
Because of the fact that not only the techniques were really good, meat and potato style stuff you can use right now. And it was brought to you by a guy who is a multiple-time world champion who was as nice as can be.
Yep.
Would get I was watching him get down on the mats with the guys and like, hey, here, do it to me, right? And like moving their body around. And just like I would do the same thing for my students.
Right.
Whereas sometimes you'll go to seminars and like the techniques are good or you're learning from an instructor, but it's almost as if like it's a hands-off approach. It's like, hey, do this, just please, just do this. Like, give me my money and let me be done with it.
It's like you're sitting in the audience just watching.
Exactly.
And he was definitely getting down. He'd take suggestions and you'd ask him stuff, and he was great, man. Yeah. He seemed like the same guy the whole time. Super nice, very approachable.
Yep.
I don't know. I enjoyed, like, we went out to dinner with him actually.
We fed him up, man. We
tried to fatten him up so maybe we could beat him up the next day.
For you guys listening, we took him to this place called Game, and a game, and basically they take game meats, right? Like elk and venison and wild boar, kangaroo, all this different stuff, and they make different burgers and meatballs and different products out of them, and then. So we took him there to get this food, and he's like, "Oh man, this is really good. We got a couple beers in him." And he doesn't drink. He's like me; he doesn't drink very much.
One beer and he's done.
Yeah, he drank 2 of them, and he felt it for sure. And then I remember at the end, I was like, "Hey, Bernardo, have you ever had a s'more before?" And he's like, "What's a s'more?"
S'more.
Yeah, what's a s'more? I was like, "Oh man!" So we got to break him in to get his first s'more.
Americanized him a little bit.
That's right, man.
Yeah, it was awesome. He was just super. Seemed like a genuine guy, really.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that's a dude where like you can tell he enjoys teaching jiu-jitsu and he enjoys what he's doing. He's not to the point where he's just like, oh fuck, what do these guys want?
Yeah, he like, he genuinely. I don't feel like he held back. Like I think he just really gave himself like really, you know, and it was cool. Just I think the difference is not new techniques; it's more, you know, his little tweaks.
Yes,
it's the details. I feel like was the key. Just the pressure. You know, we all know how to put pressure on somebody from top, but putting pressure in this way with this tweak in this area made all the difference.
Well, and you know, for me, the takeaway was, and again, this happens more than not, right? Like you'll run into someone that's gone down that rabbit hole for a different position or technique, and you know, like for instance, me, I know the over under pass. I've been doing it since I was a white belt, done it for 13 years. But he's better at it than I am. And so he was showing some grip adjustments and some changes and stuff that I haven't done before, where it was like a light bulb moment. I was like, oh, wow, okay, cool. So, you know, then I think back about how I was trying to mimic what he was doing. And as like I said before, it's different when you feel it.
Right.
And so you get to feel the grip adjustments. You get to feel the changes you're making. And you're like, oh, that's why he's doing that.
You see the...
Yeah, so it makes more sense.
So, yeah, at a high level, it's just that's what makes the difference between a successful pass or transition.
Well, and you know, even then, it's like so many people, we're all like, so many people, him and I were talking about this, people are always looking for like the new technique.
Right.
The technique that nobody knows, right? But if you watch jiu-jitsu, most often what you see is really, you know, you'll see some, and I can say like you see just basic stuff, because basic sounds like almost derogatory, like, oh, it's just simple stuff.
Right.
But you see a lot of really, you know, basic, simple stuff used over and over again. But what makes it advanced is the way that they execute these techniques and the grips and the little tweaks that they do to make those techniques, air quotes, advanced, right? So, you know, one of my buddies, you say advanced basics. And so it's like, sometimes, you know, in everybody's training, everybody should do this from time to time. They should go back, you know, and look on that friggin', you know, that proverbial bookshelf and say, listen, like, what techniques have I not used in a while? Blow the dust off of them, go through them again, and then, you know, do it just like a good book. If you read through a book, you see different things because you read through it again, you're in a different place. And so when you take
you know what to expect.
Right. Well, and so but you know, so you take those techniques and just like a book, you go through them again and you use them again and you see different things. You find different ways to execute them because you're in a different place now than you were before.
Okay.
Right. Like, so if you, like, for instance, with me, I used to be really terrible with the flower sweep. Couldn't use it. Never could use it. I would try periodically, just never worked. It never worked. And so eventually I went back to it last year and I was like, I'm going to hit this friggin' sweep. And so for a month, I said, the only sweep that I can use is a flower sweep. Okay. And sure enough, by the end of that month, I started finding like little tweaks and made it happen, you know. But again, it's because I'm in a different place now than I was when I was a white belt and just didn't have the ability to do it.
So, yeah, I mean, I think, just the way that what do you think makes him so good? I mean, at his level, 5-time world champion, what do you think sets him apart? I mean, because we all feel like you're a phenomenal jiu-jitsu player. I'm not saying. I mean, everybody. Yeah. That's the consensus from everybody in Louisville and the surrounding area. Obviously, you went. We were kind of joking around the Kumite. It's a funny name for a tournament, but you did go to an invite-only tournament and you won the black belt division. So, I mean, that's pretty impressive. And you really were not in trouble or didn't seem like to be in any type of danger at any time. I think you had 3 matches?
Two matches? I got a bye.
Okay, but still, man, you went against, both guys were tough. What do you think, when you rolled them, what did you feel like was challenging or difficult?
Man, the only thing that I can say, because again, we've rolled a couple times. I rolled with him a little bit in New York, and then we rolled when he was here. And it's just, sometimes people just, they have it. You can't really explain what it is. Like, there's not necessarily a reason as to why he's so good. I think that, there's probably a combination of things, and it's hard to pin down just one. Obviously, he probably has a natural knack for it. Okay. He's also been doing it since he was 15, I believe, 15 or 14. Okay. That's what he said. And then, he's basically dedicated himself to it. And we kind of talked about this. We kind of came up in a time because he, we're about this. We're close to the same age.
Sure.
We came up at a time when jiu-jitsu, like, for a living, that wasn't a thing. Right. Like, you could do it for a living in some places, but like it is now, like where these young guys come up now and they have their hand out. They're just like, hey, give me a sponsorship. I want to be an instructor. I want to do this for a living or whatever. It's like, hold on a second. Why don't you just dedicate yourself to it for a bit? And so he came up at a different time period, I feel like. And I mean, dude, he trained a lot, obviously, in the beginning. And then He's had some good training partners when he moved out of his hometown and moved to, I think it was Sao Paulo. Okay. And he was in Alliance, and he had amazing training partners, a lot of good teachers like Fabio Gugel and guys like Marcelo. And but I mean, he just has a natural knack for it. As far as like, now you say that, and one of the things that makes him so good is because he's really, really good at getting the match to where he wants.
Right.
You know, I mean, if we want to boil it down to that, I mean, if you watch his matches, you roll with him. I mean, the guy's going to get the over-under pass. Okay. He's going to shoot under and half guard. He's going to get your lapel. I mean, he's going to do a few things because he's that good at him, and you can't stop him. Right. And to me, that's what makes most competitors good. Right? Like, if you look at most good competitors or great competitors, like, what do? Their moves, they have, like, moves that they're almost synonymous with. Okay. Right? You think of maybe, like, that cross-collar, like, snap down. There's a couple guys like Rodolfo Vieira, Tim Spriggs. Those guys are synonymous with that move. Okay. Rodolfo Vieira, another guy, he's synonymous with that, like, that X pass with the mule kick. That's just pass, right? It's his thing. From top, yeah. You can take guys like Gary Tonin, and they're synonymous with, like, certain things with their leg locks and stuff like that. So, again, guys have basically went down that rabbit hole with one particular, a handful of techniques or positions, and really, like, exploited those and figured out how to make them work. And then they have a million different ways to get there. So they find a way to get there and then execute their best move.
Yeah, I think the one thing he said at the seminar, which I thought was really, really interesting, he said, even if the guy you're going against is a lot more experienced, way better, way more, well-rounded, stronger, doesn't matter. If you can put them in the position where you are the best at and they're not as good at, you can control the match. So, if you close guard, for example, it's an easy one. Some people have really great triangles. So if you can pull somebody into your closed guard or get them in your closed guard and then start attacking from there, they're basically on the defensive. Right. Even going against somebody that's a higher belt or, just a better jiu-jitsu player, even stronger. I mean, you can, if you put them in your world, your wheelhouse, I think you can have better effects. Like, for you, what you do really well to get people in your positions is you fight grips. You fight grips to where you get the grips you want, and then you start setting up the positions you want. When you do that, we're on the defensive. We're constantly trying to re-grip and catch up, and usually we're a step or two behind. That's too far.
Absolutely. There's a book back here on the bookshelf. Okay. It's that one here. It says On War.
On War.
On War. Okay. So if you want to be nerdy for a second. So On War is a book by Karl von Clausewitz, and it is a book that's all about military theory. Okay. And so there's a lot of, like, stratagems and things like that, and where they have a way, and I read that book and I get this parallel thing going with jiu-jitsu. Okay. So if you think about, and I'm going to go on a nerdy tangent, so follow along. So if you think about, like, so in that book it talks about the importance of terrain, right? Okay. The terrain that you fight on makes a huge difference on the way that the outcome is going to happen, right? So, like, for instance, if you have certain strengths and weaknesses, you need to pick the terrain that's best suited for you. Okay. Okay? Yeah. And I don't want to get into all the specifics, but that's the idea. Basically, the best ground for your type of fighter, right? Okay. For your type of army. In a jiu-jitsu sense, right? Like, your body is composed up of, like, you have different techniques, different positions, things like that. You're like a little army, if you think about it, right? One against the other. And the position is like the terrain. If you have certain techniques and certain weapons, you need to fight in those areas where they can be best used. Okay. Right? Just like the person picks the best terrain for their army, you got to pick the best position for your techniques to work. Yep. Right? And then again, it's a simple concept, right? If you put yourself in the best position for your techniques to work, you increase your chances dramatically of success. Whereas if you play into another person's strengths, well, then you're playing into his best game, so you got to stop that. Like, for instance, if you know the guy's a guard player, you've got to. Everything comes down to you not getting sucked up into guard, right? If you know the guy's a half guard player, like, that shoots up under and sweep, then you have to keep distance and make sure he doesn't get up under you. If the guy's a particular type of guard passer, you have to try to eliminate that as a possibility. No, makes sense. So as they control terrain, we control the positions. Right. No, and I will, and that comes with familiarity, though. Working with certain people, and the thing with a tournament setting is usually not familiar with. And so here's the thing. Here's a question. I sometimes do not like, if I go to a tournament, I do not like watching my competition because I feel like it pumps me up too much. You can get that adrenaline dump, but on the other hand, watching them and seeing their tendencies, it's important, is an advantage. Yeah. So what do you think about? I mean, what do you recommend as far as, like,
one tournament I watched, another one I was out warming up, and then as soon as I was getting ready to go, done warming up, I was there, getting ready to be called, and I had success that way. But what do you think? I mean, you think there's one way that's better than the other?
Well, I think there's a healthy balance because you have to make sure that you don't get too into that person,
right?
Because then, let's say the person maybe. I'll give you an example. I used to MMA fights was the worst for me because MMA fights are just so stressful. You know what I mean? Jiu-Jitsu matches are the same, but MMA fights are it's a little bit more stressful because of the bodily harm that can be done to you.
Yeah, the negative outcomes.
Right, this dude can really
much more serious.
He can fucking cave your face in.
Yeah.
And you would watch people sometimes, and there was this one guy, a great example of this. I was watching one of his fights. And he was fighting this guy, and he looked just amazing on his feet. And then he freaking did a flying knee, knocked this dude out cold. So I'm like, what? And I got to fight this guy. And I'm like, oh, man, I remember I could feel my freaking just that anxiety raise up. I could feel my heart, starting to beat faster and just that tenseness. Right. I watched another match, and I watched a bunch of his other matches and realized that one match was kind of a fluke, and he wasn't really that striker. It would be good of a striker. It was just that one guy.
Oh, okay.
And then in jiu-jitsu, so sometimes you got to look, take a step back. It's okay. Don't freak yourself out too much. But also jiu-jitsu matches where I'll watch a guy, and you got to understand maybe what they're going to do. Maybe he's going to shoot up a triangle on me. Okay, cool. Well, then you just got to watch for triangles.
Sure.
But at the same time, you can't be too into what they're doing, because if you're too into what they're doing, then you become afraid. You become, nervous, and then that limits you from being able to execute your game. Right.
So maybe being gun shy, you're not going to want to engage.
Right. So for me, I'll watch them, but when it comes down to it, the way that you have to think is, if I execute all my techniques, the ones that I have in my game plan, the ones I've been practicing, if I execute my techniques and they work, I win.
Right.
So don't worry so much about what they're doing and just go after it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And don't get too hung up on what they're going to do to you. Because, again, if you get too nervous about that triangle or that armbar or that sweep or whatever it is that they're good at, and you get too nervous about it, instead of knowing it's there, respecting it, but being I'm going to pass right through that thing, or I'm going to destroy that technique, then you get too nervous. And I'm guilty of it. I mean, I've gone against guys where I literally knew exactly what sweep they were going to do, and I got so nervous and gun shy that they ended up doing the sweep because I wasn't putting them on the defensive.
Right. You wouldn't, No, I understand. I think the one thing that calms me down the most is as I've been training longer and I've done more tournaments, I still get nervous. I don't get as nervous, but I think what keeps me at peace or at ease is knowing that I have a game plan and I know what I'm good at. And people ask me, well, are you nervous? Are you scared? It's a big tournament, whatever. And yeah, you're nervous, but what keeps me calm is knowing that I have my game and I'm just going to go out there and play my game. I'm going to impose my will to the best of my abilities. And if I lose, imposing, doing what I like to do, then that I lose. But I don't want to lose because I didn't attack or didn't do enough.
I just think about it this way, man. The last tournament, I wrote down exactly what I was doing the whole time.
Okay.
So basically, I had my phone with me and my little Evernote, and I would have a thought come in my head, or I was kind of minute by minute, I was talking about what was going on or what I was thinking.
Okay.
And I remember thinking we're all sitting down and everybody's getting ready, and you see guys puffing their chest up, and and then you go outside, because it was in a mall, right? It was in a mall, and you'd go out of this little room where it was all dark, and you can just literally feel the tenseness in the room.
Were you on the set of Bloodsport?
Yeah.
By any chance?
No, I wish. God, that movie was so awesome. That movie's probably the reason I'm here right now.
That's. I have to say, I'm maybe in the same boat. I've seen that movie. I can't really count how many times.
I know word for
I know
word.
We talked about it. Yeah. It was awesome.
I mean, I used to watch it all the time and then try to do push-ups to get my pecs to
Do you ever watch it? Have you seen it recently?
Yeah.
And realize how weird and awkward it is?
How awesome it is?
Well, just how...
it's all bullshit.
Well, it makes me cringe a little bit watching. I was like, God, I love this movie.
You got it. It's
so I got
good.
my wife to watch it, and she's like, what the hell is this?
I mean, it's
I was like, it's Frank Dukes about to beat the shit out of everybody.
My childhood bromance. I mean,
oh my God, yeah. Those splits. Remember the splits in the chair, and he's breathing and doing his little...
I used to try to do that stuff, and it never worked.
What, the splits?
Oh, yeah, dude. I never could do the
you
splits.
can't even straighten your knees.
Hey.
I doubt you're going to be able to do the splits.
Man, dude, but that's just because... this one straightens. This one straightens just fine. It's the other one. Because the other one's
Chewy's over straightening his knees.
My right knee's really arthritic. But, so... but going back to, so, I'm sitting there, like, so where it was is you were in like this room, and it almost looked like an old, like it's like an old Banana Republic or something.
Okay.
Right? And so you go in there and the room's dark and you can feel this tenseness in the air, and then you walk out and then you're into this brightly lit mall. People are walking around with their consumer goods.
Okay.
And just, everything's whatever. So it's this weird contrast. And so, I have my headphones in and I'm listening, and you're just in this kind of a weird mental state. And it reminds you that it doesn't, and I said this in one of the things we were doing with Tony, it doesn't matter.
Right.
This shit doesn't matter at all. Like, no one cares that we're competing. The only people that care are me and that other guy and a few of the people that are watching around us. If I lose, you guys would still respect me as an instructor. You'd be like, that was my coach. He was stepping out in the battle and was fighting, and we respect him for that. If I lose, Jess is not going to leave me. She's still going to be just fine. She'll love me. My friends that I have, which are pretty much all jiu-jitsu guys, but the few friends that I have that aren't jiu-jitsu guys are not going to stop being my friends. Right? Nothing changes. It's an opportunity for me to test myself. And again, if you're in the upper echelon of jiu-jitsu where like money is really on the line with that kind of stuff, well then obviously you're going to have a little bit more pressure. But again, for most of us, like these tournaments, like it's not we build it up into something it's not, because it means so much to us, right? Where we feel like we have to win. But the problem is when you feel like you have to win, you aren't as able to open up and make, take full advantage of what you have, right? Because you're too worried about it, because I can tell you right now, like I have matches where I was so worried about winning, so worried about the way that I looked afterwards, worried about my image, or worried about the perception that I would have afterwards, that I was so, like, hung up on all that, that I was not able to open up because I was too afraid.
I think the big thing to me doing a tournament, I have to kind of look at myself. Like, I know nobody else really cares, but I have to look at myself after that. Right. I have to, after it's all said and done, I'm going to be in the bathroom, look at myself in the mirror, and I have to either be proud of what I see or not. And I think that's one of my biggest fears is looking in the mirror and not being proud, I guess, because I'm always pretty hard on myself. I think everybody always looks for reassurance and like a pat on the back, you're doing good. That's sometimes, I think that's where, like, we talked about belt promotions and stripes. The stripe is not necessarily... doesn't really mean a whole lot, but what it does, it's kind of an affirmation of hard work or that you're moving in the right direction. I think that's the way I see it. But for me, having a bad performance at a tournament, I mean, you're embarrassed for yourself per se, but I think it was just, you're not proud of what you see. And that's the hard part for me is really, because everybody knows, like, you roll with people on a day-to-day basis, and they know what your game entails and how good you are or how tough you are or how, what you like to do and what you're good at. And then if you go to a tournament and you have a bad performance, those people still know who you are at the core, but I don't know. Just for me personally.
But again, you got to ask the question: what defines a bad performance? Is it just losing? Does losing mean that's all that matters? Because to me, that's not all that matters. To me, I can have a really good performance and lose, right? But I know that deep down, like, I unloaded everything I had. Like, everything I had, unloaded every single technique that I had. I let out. I didn't step on the mat fearful. I had a good time. I went after it, and when I walked off the mat, I just wasn't the better man that day. That happens sometimes. That to me is a fine performance, and I can accept that. What I can't accept, or what doesn't sit well with me, and what would make me and has made me look into the mirror and be like, you're a fucking pussy. It's like when I step on the mat and I'm fucking afraid. Like, I'm afraid to open up. I don't want to take the chance. Right. Because I'm too afraid of losing. I'm too afraid of getting my move stopped. Like, that's where when I walk away from a match like that, regardless of whether or not I won or I lost, because I've won matches where I beat the guy, but, like, I could have done so much more. Right. And I know deep down that I didn't conquer my own bullshit in my head. Right. And to me, that was I missed the whole point. Because to me, it's not about me beating another person, right? Okay. It's about me conquering the bullshit that's going on in my head. Saying, like, look, you're stepping in there, you're second guessing yourself, you're afraid, but you reassure yourself and you just go for it anyway. Right. And you step off the mat and, like, win or lose, I'm okay. But if I step on the mat and I win or lose, but I held back. I didn't go for it. Yeah. I held myself back because of my own, like, negative self-talk or whatever's going through my head. And then I'm not satisfied with that.
What do you think keeps people from competing?
They're scared.
Just fear.
Fucking fear, man. I mean, like, again, because here's a question.
I'm scared, but I compete.
Okay, but see, so I was thinking about this the other day. Like, so one of the guys on YouTube asked me, he said, man, he goes, when do you know it's the right time to compete? And I'm like, if you're asking that question, you're second guessing yourself, and you're never going to know. You just have to take the chance and go for it. I wrestled, and I remember when I was wrestling, man. I remember my first match. I didn't feel like I was walking to a match. I felt like I was walking to my execution. I was like, I felt like I was going to just die or something. It was so scary, right? Sure. And left to my own devices, I would have never done that match probably. But because I was on a wrestling team, I got pushed into doing it. You just had to do it. It's what you had to do. And with jiu-jitsu competitors, man, like, for instance, if I ask someone, say, listen, if I guaranteed you, right, like, if you knew beforehand that you would win the tournament, would you compete? And if you answer yes, but you don't compete, then you're not competing because you're being scared. Because if I said that because again, if competing doesn't matter to you, then you'd be like, no, I don't want to compete. So it doesn't matter if I win or lose, I don't want to compete. Right. But if you said, yeah, I'd love to do it if I knew I was going to win, then you're just being scared and you're letting your own fear get to you. Point. And people can cite a million different reasons, right? Aside from a real medical issue, right? Like, maybe you got a really bad heart or something that like can't take that kind of stress and you're just training and moving around. Right. Aside from some weird medical issue, like, if you want to compete, you should compete.
How do you get over it? How do you think you get over that fear?
You have to take the leap.
Okay.
Perfect. You just got to. I mean, there's no other way to do it. Like, it's like one of those things, man. Like, where, like, if let's say if you've ever been like a cliff or something where you're jumping into the water. Yeah. You'll look down and it looks so fucking scary. You're looking down at the water and you're like, I don't know, man. There's no easy way to do it. You just have to jump. You just have to go. You just have to take a step and go for it. And that's the thing. It's like people will try to like come up with some strategy. Well, I'm going to do this game plan. I'm going to train for this many days, blah, blah, blah. And something doesn't go perfectly right. And then it freaks them out. You can't worry about that. You just got to do it.
I don't think it ever goes perfect.
It never goes perfect.
Like, you're always, something's tweaked or you're not feeling great.
Something's injured. Or, the best part is like leading up to a tournament or a fight or whatever you're getting ready for, competition. It never fails. Like the week before, you're almost always second guessing yourself, thinking, "Did I do enough? Man, I don't feel good this week."
I'm in that boat right now, man. I mean, there's no turning back.
But everyone does it. Like, again, dude, I remember I used to be notorious about it. Like, I would like freak out the week before a fight because I would be questioning everything I'd done, and really see, did I do enough? Just I don't know if I did enough, whatever. And then I'd go to the fight and I'd do great. Right. Same thing with jiu-jitsu tournaments. Sometimes I'd question myself, did I do enough? And I'd go out there and just kill it, But because I'm, again, negative self-talk, you got to understand what it is. It's just your body, your fight or flight response is kicking in. Right. And, your body tries to flee first, right? So it says, okay, listen, we have this undetermined outcome coming up. It's going to stress us out. So let's try not to do that, right? So your body's like, hey, come on, like, don't do that. You might get hurt or this might happen, whatever. Just don't do it, So that your body's trying to do that. Now, when you finally get out there, your body will be like, okay, now we got to fight. Right. But it will do everything that it can to, and sort of insert that negative self-talk to get you to steer away from that situation. And then, but if you understand that and you say, listen, that's just my body doing that, right? Okay, well then we go ahead, move forward, and then just put your body out there. Yeah. And it's amazing what will happen when you put yourself out on the competition mat and it just happens. Right. You at that point you don't really have a whole lot of control. Like, your body just kind of goes on autopilot, and what's going to happen is going to happen. Right. And then you can look back at it and improve.
We just do. Yeah. I mean, you just kind of go out there. My first tournament was definitely scary. I mean, but
it's always scary.
It gets a little. I never thought it would get any easier, but it does.
Sure.
As far as I feel like, you've been there before, and I think when you get to be a higher belt, although the competition's better, you're also, I think, more confident in what you're able to do because, you've earned that ranking per se, and you're able to, that there's things that you can do well at the level you're at.
Well, I mean, and it's also just goes down to, being desensitized to it, right?
Yeah, like somewhat.
Imagine the first time that you stepped into a gym. You're probably nervous as hell. Oh, yeah. Right? Like, you're super nervous.
Absolutely.
But you kept coming, and eventually, like, now, like, you don't get the butterflies in your stomach like you used. I know when I used to come into the gym, I'd get butterflies in my stomach. Too. I'd be white-knuckling the steering wheel coming to the gym. I'd get myself pumped up, listening to some hard music. Like, I'm getting ready. All right, we're doing this. Deep breaths, And then now I just come to the gym and, like, see everybody. Like, oh, we're training. Let's have a good time, Right. And so it's just like that. You go to the tournament, you know what to expect. You're going to feel a little, like, funny. You're going to have your battle craps. You're going to go through the whole rigmarole, right? You know exactly what you're going to do, so it's just business as usual.
So what, as far as, let's transition to the Worlds. It's coming up. Yeah. Probably for me personally, I'm competing the biggest tournament I've ever done.
Sure. Yeah.
What about you? I mean, how do you feel going into it as far as like expectations?
Man, I don't like to really set expectations to myself. My drive is, again, I know it sounds weird. Like for me in jiu-jitsu, like the Master Worlds is a huge thing. And if I was to win the Master Worlds, fuck, I mean, that's a huge thing, sure. Right? Huge, big tournament, right? And especially my division right now, like all these like guys that are like monsters. Like in my division, you've got Rafael Lovato Jr.,
yep. You've
got Shanji, and you've got a slew of other really good dudes. Yeah. So to win that division would be huge. Now, for me, like, again, I think about it this way. The most coveted title of jiu-jitsu is the adult worlds.
Okay.
Right? That's what the black belt adult worlds. That's like the Olympics for gi jiu-jitsu, right? You can be a blue belt world champion. You can be a purple belt world champion, whatever. You can be this Master 3, Master 1, whatever. But the adults is the black belt adult. That's the Olympics, right?
Sure.
So I'm not winning that. That's just not on the table. It's not in the cards for me, right?
Yeah.
That's okay. Like I'm not bad. There's just not in the cards for me. So with that said, my goal now is, okay, well, I can't be the Olympic gold medalist in jiu-jitsu, right? Well, then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to be the best dude that I can be. And when I step out onto the mat, my whole underlying core, thing is just, I want to make sure that when I step on the mat, I fire off those guys, 100%, and I don't walk off the mat wishing that I would have done more or thinking to myself, man, I could have done more.
Yeah.
When I step off the mat, I want to say, you know what, win or lose, I did everything that I could.
Absolutely.
I left it all out there, and that's all that I can hope for.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like I said, that to me, that's what I'm there for. You know.
Yeah.
And also, I want to put on at least a decent show, right? Like to me, like again, jiu-jitsu to me is an art form. And you think about this, like if you're an artist and you had your art up for someone to see.
Yeah.
What would you want them to think about it, right? And so, like, when someone watches you roll, like, to me, like, for me, like, what do you want them to think about it? Do you want to think, man, that guy, he's boring to watch, or, man, he really goes for it, he goes for the attack, whatever. Like, like, I want people to interpret me as, like, being a, you know what, man, like, win or lose, he goes after it.
Yeah.
And then he tries to push the pace. He's a big guy that moves and tries to push the pace on people. That's what I want my style to convey through just seeing it. So if you saw a video of it, you'd be like, oh, man, Chewy, he's fun to watch, whatever. Yeah. Not like, oh, man, Chewy's competing again. He'll fucking sit on his ass and dry hump someone for 3 minutes to get the advantage win or something. You know what I mean? Like, again,
no, I do.
Because, again, at the end of the day, it's like, it's a performance. What do you want people to see? It is,
and that's kind of the difference between, doing what you love or game jiu-jitsu or playing the game. The tournament does have rules,
sure.
Set of rules. So if you're better at playing, you may not be a better jiu-jitsu player, but you may be better at playing this game of jiu-jitsu with these specific rules. And you can, how you can get an advantage and then stall the rest of the way out. I mean, that's part of it. And that comes also, I feel like, with doing more tournaments. You do more tournaments, okay, I need to hold this position, or I need to get here, settle for a minute, then I can go.
Sure. And
because sometimes, like you even said, you've had some matches where you were dominating and you just didn't hold the position enough to get the points. You were just amped to finish. You were playing your game. You weren't playing specific rules.
I wasn't playing sport jiu-jitsu at that point. I was like rolling, just like I want to submit the guy.
Yeah,
I wanted to get the submission.
Yeah, you wanted to, and I think that even if you lost that match, I don't know if you did or not, but if you did, I think you'd be proud of that performance.
Oh, I lost the match. Yeah, no,
okay.
I know the match you're talking about. I had the guy in almost like 3 arm locks and a choke.
Right,
just couldn't quite finish it. He was a tough guy.
Right,
and I lost on an advantage or 1 point. It was like 1 point. So lost on 1 point. But I wasn't really. But to me, it was funny because like at the end of it, I had him like I was on top of him in half guard. I've been just transitioning on this guy, and he got up and he put his hands in the yeah. I mean, like, and I remember like looking at it, being like, I mean, I wasn't really that upset, but I'm looking at him like, man, you're satisfied with that? You're satisfied with like basically getting worked for 5 minutes, like like it's like okay, man, whatever floats your boat. I guess a win's a win, W to W. But to me, man, there's just more to it than that.
It's more to it than win losing. Yeah.
To me, it's like again, and that's just my own like the way that I think. There's just more to it than the win lose. It's more there's something else.
How do you feel like you're like tapering down? So now we're about I'd say probably a week and a half out from the Master Worlds. Mm-hmm. What do you feel like is the plan? They may hear this maybe sooner or later,
sure.
Whatever. What do you feel like is the plan now? What are you fine tuning? What are you doing right now until the time that you compete?
Getting some hard rolls in, getting a little bit more cardio in. and then I'll probably Saturday will be my last hard day.
Okay.
And then from there, it's going to be a lot of drill work.
Okay.
And just movement and drill work, some light rolling, but movement mostly.
Okay.
And that'll be it.
And I'm asking just because this is I'm starting to. It's different. I've never done a tournament where I really had to travel, and be at a hotel, and so it's going to be a different environment. I'm just trying to figure out what's the best way to keep your game sharp. Mm-hmm. I want to stay sharp and peak at the right time.
Well, when we get down there, we'll see if we can find a place to move around a little bit.
Right.
Maybe like after, because I'll be here the first day. What are you, second or third?
Oh, probably third.
Okay,
third.
So if you're like third day, then what we'll do is on the day before that, we'll see if we can find a spot to go like roll or move around a little bit and do a little bit of light drill work.
Yeah.
Let you guys get a sweat in and then get you ready. But for me, we'll leave and then we'll be there the next day. So that day will be rest.
Yeah.
And visualization.
Sure. No, that makes sense. I mean, that really does. Do you feel like anything you're fine tuning for any techniques? Or you feel like everything's already set in stone? You already got a game plan set in stone, everything like that.
Everything's already set, man. I mean, I'm going to be the same person I've been for the last month. When I was getting ready for the Kumite, nothing's changed.
Kumite.
So the only thing is we're just going to, maybe be a little bit more in shape, a little bit stronger for it. So. It's ready to go.
I mean, how do you feel like? Do you feel like injury free wise? I mean, you feel pretty good as far as no injuries.
Yeah, we've been doing more yoga and stuff like that. I've been stretching a bunch, and I feel fine. I feel good.
How do you feel like the yoga's impacted you?
Helpful. It's good for the hips.
Yeah, like hip mobility.
Yeah, a lot of hip mobility for me was really important. Because my hips get really tight, like most jiu-jitsu guys do. And you get that pain in different areas, and it's helped out a lot with that.
Do you feel like? You feel like you were having any issues with mobility that you couldn't get in certain positions, or?
Not necessarily certain positions, just general stiffness after training, right?
Yeah.
Whereas there's a few exercises that we'll do during the yoga sessions that we have here at the gym that seem to help out where, I wake up in the morning and I'm not super stiff going, oh my God. I have a hard training session, do the yoga afterwards, and I'm like, I feel pretty good.
It's a good cool down.
Absolutely. The next morning I can wake up and I can go train again if I want to, instead of being like, well, I'll have to wait till mid-afternoon before my body feels warmed up enough to do it.
I got it. No, that's cool. Yeah. I mean, oh, that sounds fun. Sounds like a good time, man. Chewy, I was going to ask you, is there anything about, going back to Bernardo Faria, anything that surprised you about him when you met him? I'm just curious.
Surprised. I was surprised.
Anything you didn't expect.
Yeah, so, me and Bernardo started talking about, just different business stuff.
Okay.
I won't get into too much of the details, but he's a pretty bright dude, and so we were able to sit there and talk around about this stuff because I can't talk to most people about it.
Sure, they don't know what situation you're in.
They don't know anything about it, and so we were talking about that, and that kind of surprised me because we went on a pretty long about an hour and a half conversation worth of that stuff, just kind of going in there and talking about some different ideas and things that we do.
I'll tell you, my favorite thing about the seminar was that everything that he showed, we did, but we learned how to do just a little bit better.
Yeah,
we learned that's what I got. I think everything he was doing, I had the smile on my face because I play half guard or a Z guard, if you will, with the knee shield. Mm-hmm. And for me, it was just everything what I expected. It wasn't like reinventing the wheel. It was like, I don't know, making it smoother or putting new rubber on. I don't know, but that's what it was for me. It was helping develop, just kind of shining up some new things, like washing the car, waxing it up.
No, I agree. You take just some little details and you make what you already had that was good even better.
Right.
And
that's what I liked.
And for me, man, which I was so stoked about, and that was kind of one of the reasons I wanted to bring him, was because I know that we play over-under.
Yeah.
Because I sent out about 10 emails, 10 messages to different black belts, kind of seeing who would be interested. And he was one of the guys where I was like, man, this guy has a very similar style to some of the things that we play already. So a lot of the stuff, I think, I talked to most of the people who went to the seminar, everyone was super excited because they were like, oh, I can add this into my game right now.
Right.
Rather than, oh, hey, I learned all these cool things that they don't really work with my game. And I also think that since he didn't overload the seminar with too many techniques, everybody walked away with something. Because in a lot of seminars, you'll just get blasted with a million techniques. You have no time to drill, and you don't remember any of it.
Yeah.
So you paid whatever money you paid, and then at the end of it, you're like, yeah, it was a great seminar. I had a lot of fun. What moves did you learn? You don't remember anything.
Yeah, I feel like for me, a lot of the stuff that he does played into my game very well, but he did a few things differently that I usually, like the lapel grip.
Sure.
And I've been trying to implement that, but I think it's a little too late, like to really try to implement certain areas. Because I found myself in, like I say, no man's land. I'm either too far away, or I'm too, or actually no, I'm sorry, I'm not far away enough to play certain things I like to play, or I'm not close enough to where I need to get that lapel. So that's kind of that's something. But yeah, everything he did was just awesome. It was very very usable, and I liked it. So I was gonna ask you one more question. I know you're not really big on UFC. Who do you have? Conor McGregor or Nate Diaz? I'm just curious.
Nate Diaz.
How's he gonna win?
Man, I'll watch. I'll probably eat my words. I didn't think he was going to win the first one.
Right. I didn't either.
I think that stylistically, Nate Diaz represents a bad matchup for him because Conor, stylistically, you don't see him a whole lot in the later rounds.
Yeah. Sure.
And so it's like, a lot of times that can mean the person's kind of suspect in the later rounds. He's a damage dealer. He's someone that comes out there. Like if you think of these guys as like in a create a character mode, right? Uh-huh. The output of damage that he does is very high,
right?
Which in turn means that your output of energy is very high, right? So again, because you can watch a guy like a George St. Pierre who can go for a fucking like forever, right?
Yeah.
But his damage level is not as high, right? He doesn't bust people up. He'll bust them up, but not like he doesn't stop people like boom 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 all the time, right? So typically, when your output like that is high, you don't favor well in the later rounds. It's just how it is. Nate Diaz, on the other hand, is someone that absorbs damage. He's someone that takes damage and just keeps coming. He just the kid just can take a hit really, really well, and
especially from a smaller guy.
From a smaller guy, yeah. I mean, like, instead, then you're talking about there's still a weight difference.
Yep.
And that was the thing that really shocked me. Like, I definitely thought Conor had a chance. In the first fight. It's always a fight.
I didn't realize how much smaller he was.
Yeah, but that was the thing that kind of made me laugh a little bit because I mean, Las Vegas and everyone, they lost their fucking minds, dude. Like that first fight, you could have put Conor McGregor because he was coming, and the weird thing was he beat Jose Aldo. But he beat him on a one-punch knockout, which is so hard to, like, you know what I mean? You don't know, like, what, like,
what could have happened?
What could have happened? Like, let's say he misses that punch. What happens after that? Because, they never fought again. So it's like, you don't really know, like, where are they at, together. Like, I mean, that fight could have went completely different minus that one punch.
Yeah.
Because those fights happen all the time where a guy gets clipped. And then they fight again, and the guy gets destroyed.
But the difference is they showed him practicing that
I understand,
sequence.
but dude, I mean, that's one of those things where, I mean, okay, so you practice a sequence. I mean, you could have practiced several sequences and be like, oh, this is the one that finally went through.
Right.
I mean, so what? It's like it still doesn't matter. It's like the fact is like if you miss that punch, what happens? We don't know.
Sure.
So you came off that big win over Jose Aldo with that one punch knockout, and everyone was like, oh my god,
that was legit.
He could knock out everyone. He's going to knock. See, they could have put him up against a damn heavyweight, and somehow Conor McGregor would have been the favorite because the hype train was going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just like people are being unrealistic. Like, look, dude. So you look like you got this smirk on your face when you're going to tell me about Conor McGregor winning.
I'm going to tell you about Conor McGregor.
Why is he going to win?
He's not. The thing for me is the ways to win. I see one way Conor McGregor can win. I see multiple ways Nate Diaz can win. Now, you got the variables. The variables are, well, Conor McGregor is going to train for this specific style of fighter. Taller, rangier, southpaw. Okay, that's fine. He's going to train for something specific. Sure. But then you got Nate Diaz. Okay, then they're like, okay, Conor is going to be finally have a second go at fighting at a heavier weight. Right. He might know how to conserve his energy. Sure. He, had a really successful first round. But to me, how can Nate Diaz win? Conor McGregor can win by decision. I don't think he can win by. I think if he knocks him out, I will be very shocked. If he submits him, I would I would be completely. That would be the craziest shit ever.
Right.
Now I'll tell you the way Nate Diaz can win. He can win by TKO. I think he can get on top and put him in that position like he did in the first, and he can just pound him out. He can submit him. He can beat him by decision. I think he can. I think he's got so many ways. And even if Conor picks him apart in the first 2-3 rounds, he may zap his energy. He may not be able to go. And the thing about Nate Diaz is he throws volume, tons of volume.
Just like his brother. Yeah.
He throws tons of volume. He goes to the body. And I think that can zap energy, and I think that'll take some spring out of.
Oh yeah.
Because Conor likes to use a lot of kicks.
Sure.
He throws kicks a lot, and the thing is, also Nate Diaz, if he won't do this, but if he is getting picked apart, he could go for the takedown or pull guard. He would even be successful pulling guard. If he fucking just got a hold of him and just fell to his back, I feel very confident that he could submit Conor.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what I'm saying. I just think there's one way for Conor to win because could he knock out?
If he was
probably not.
If he was to knock out Nate Diaz, then what that means is probably Nate Diaz's career is kind of coming down to because usually like guys like Nate Diaz or Nick Diaz, guys that are so hard to knock out, usually if they lose their chin,
once the chin goes,
it's usually pretty much that's it. Like they're kind of on their way out. You know what I mean? Because it's just not going to happen.
Right.
So that would be indicative of something else. And
you're right. He is a guy that can take a lot of damage. He absorbs it.
He absorbs it. So it's basically it's a bad matchup of styles because you have a guy who can take damage and a guy that can deal damage. So basically it becomes a war of attrition. So like I said, if Conor's smart, he'll be a little bit slower with his game, which in turn could allow him, if he's smart, to get a decision win. If he does not, and he tries to unload and put him down, and he's unsuccessful, because again, he could be successful. If he's unsuccessful, then he's going to end up in deep waters like he did last time, and be unable to fight anymore because he's going to be too tired.
I think he's just go in and out. He's going to throw a couple shots, come out, circle, waste some time, create space, go close the distance, do some shots.
I will say this though, because Conor seems to be a fairly intelligent dude. He's probably going to fare better than he did last time. I think Nate Diaz probably is training exactly the same as he always has. Yeah. Like he's just like, man, fuck you. He's just going to do his thing, right? And he's going to keep training the way he has been. Whereas I think Conor's probably going to try to tweak some things and maybe have some different looks for him this time. So I think he'll probably do better than he did last time. But I think the eventual outcome.
They said Conor's training with Dylan Dennis.
Sure, whatever. I mean, training.
Why?
You're not Dylan Dennis.
Why?
Well, because he's a good jiu-jitsu trainer.
I know, but why?
Why what?
Why even, dude? If he gets on the mat with Nate Diaz, he's going to get crushed.
I mean, but you got to do something, And again, to me, it's not even about that. Like, as a fighter, this is not going to be his last fight.
No.
So he should always be trying to be better. Obviously, that last fight said, "Man, your game really needs work on the ground."
Well, he was tired. He was tired.
Well, he was tired, but I mean, he still needs better grappling.
Well, sure.
If he's going to be that level, because eventually he's going to go up against a guy that's going to have some good jiu-jitsu and good grappling to get him down, who's got a full head of steam.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, again, he beat like the little guy, like the real strong Chad Mendez, yeah, he beat him. But, again, you have a guy that
was getting worked.
He was getting worked, and he did not have a full head of steam on him. It's like you get a guy who's training for sure, but he's not in full training camp. So it's like you against a guy who had a full training camp.
Right.
So it's like, again, those things are always hard to... And that's another thing. So he beat Chad Mendez, and he beat Jose Aldo. He beat a guy who had a not full training camp, and then he beat a guy who he beat in one punch, which again, it's like everybody, like you can say like, oh, he predicted it. Well, yeah, sure, but again, he predicted things with Nate Diaz. It doesn't always come true.
Right.
You're lucky if it happens, right? But you just got to do what you got to do.
I agree. I think the one thing I respect about Conor, he always steps up. And I respect that he wants to do this fight at the same weight. Like he's like, well, what kind of person would I be if I said, oh, well, you beat me at 170, let's fight at a lower weight. So I respect that. I mean, I respect his testicular fortitude. For sure, he's definitely a warrior. He's definitely puts it on the line for sure.
And he definitely when he lost last time, they had those behind the scenes things where he's walking around.
Yeah.
He's not being a little baby about it. He's. I mean, you got to respect that.
Well, now they're hyping this fight back up, so shit's happening. But
of course, and he's a smart dude. I mean, he's going to get out there and act like a nut, and he's going to sell those damn tickets, and I mean, make his money, and more power to him. Like I said, he's done a hell of a job of conducting himself with respect and dignity outside of the ring.
Sure.
But then when the fights come up, being just a fucking goofball, and talking so much crazy trash. But again, he has a guy like me who, again, I'm kind of hit or miss with fights.
Sure.
I'm like, I got to watch that fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I got to watch it. So,
what do you think about Glover Teixeira and Rumble Johnson?
Man,
I think it goes past the first round.
Man, yeah, dude, it's such an X factor because if Rumble if you make it past the first round, your ability to win against Rumble increases
exponentially.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a million times, right?
But
make it out of that first round is fucking hard because that dude's a monster.
Well, I've never seen Daniel Cormier get rocked, and the way he hit him, I was like, he hit him so hard his legs went out from underneath.
And that fucking guy used to be a 170 pounder.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
What the fuck?
Isn't that crazy?
Dude, that's nuts.
Can you imagine how much...
Hold on. Here's something.
He fought a heavyweight.
I know. He
broke Arlovsky's jaw with a punch.
Now here's something for you. All right. Who wins this fight? Okay, I'm going to give you a theoretical.
All right.
Anthony Johnson at 170 or Conor McGregor at 170. Could you imagine that shit? Those two fighting.
I think Conor
It probably would because he'd get him tired.
I think,
But could you imagine that happening, right? Like, okay, those two fighting as big as he is. I mean,
that's two ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, I mean, but that's nuts. Like,
yeah, I think. Well, shit. I think Josh Koscheck beat Rumble.
No, he was definitely not very.
He's not very strong. I mean, he probably wasn't as strong there. So
no, he wasn't as successful at 170 as he has been.
He probably depleted the shit out of himself.
It's not healthy.
But yeah, I think McGregor still has. Even if he loses this fight, he still goes down to 145.
Of course. This is just for fun. I mean, this is just for shits and giggles, man. Like, I mean, on the grand scheme of things, like, this is not his division, so he's up here just like kicking around, like, hey, let's fuck around and do this, you know?
I hear you. Well, man, Chewy, that's all I got, brother. I appreciate the time as always. Are you knuckling me?
I'm knuckling.
He's knuckling. I didn't know what he was doing. He's gonna punch me right in the face.
Make some knuckles.
Chew's gonna go represent at the Worlds. I'm gonna try to represent the Worlds at the purple belt level.
You're not gonna try. You're gonna do it.
Oh, I'm gonna
you're gonna fucking represent.
Do it.
I mean,
I'm telling you.
There's no try. You're going. So there's not try. You either do or you do not.
Thank you, Yoda. That's Chewy coming out with his Star Wars isms.
Yeah.
Oh, listen to this. Rob gave me a really cool nickname because of my mustache. He called me the Red Baron.
The Red Baron.
Kind of like it. Red, because Russia, red.
The Red Baron.
The Red Baron.
He was German.
Well, the color red. I didn't... Shut up with your history. This is bullshit.
He makes pizzas.
Why? Why do you always have to rain on my parade?
I'm not a Red Baron. Cool.
Red Baron. The Russian Red Baron.
Like the pizzas?
Oh my god! Isn't he wasn't he like a airplane?
Yeah, he was a pilot during the First World War.
Was he?
Yeah.
For the Germans?
The Germans, yeah.
What's wrong with me being called the Red Baron?
It's nothing wrong.
I got the mustache.
It's fine. I was just sharing that you're German. And you're,
oh my god,
Russian.
You're the worst.
You're a Russian Jew.
You really know how to bring somebody down.
Yeah, you're a Russian Jew and he's German.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, we just went there.
Wait, This podcast is over.
I mean, if someone made it this long with the podcast, they're probably like, these guys.
Should I keep it in here?
Oh yeah, sure. I don't care.
Do you think I should?
I don't. What? Some people can be. Oh my god, I can't believe he called him a Russian Jew. Well, guess what? He is a Russian Jew.
Hey, how dare you?
Just like I'm an English something. I don't know.
Did you ever find out? I know we're getting way off tangent, but
yeah.
Did you find out what your ancestry is?
Yep.
What are you?
Primarily, I'm English. And then I have some broadly Northwestern European. That's what it has.
I don't know what that means.
So on 23andMe,
like
basically,
Icelandic.
It could be anything. Like my father's last name is Norris, which means Norseman.
Okay.
So it could be like some sort of like Scandinavian or something whatever. But it could be anything. Like there's a province in France called Albion where the name Albin comes from. So I mean, it could be anything from France all the way to fucking Sweden or something. It could be anything right.
So pretty much you don't know what you are.
I'm just a white European dude, right? I mean, that's what I am.
So you did this whole thing where you sent out a swab of your
spit. You're spitting in a tube.
Okay.
For like fucking.
So you spit in a tube and spend all this money to find out you're a white guy.
Yeah, but it tells you some other cool stuff. I have the sprinter gene, which means that I'm able to pack on more muscle than the average person.
Well,
hell yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
Sure.
I guess. I don't know what that means.
Caffeine runs through me faster than the average person.
Does that mean you go to the bathroom faster?
It means that basically caffeine loses effect on me faster.
Well, you have a mug that says coffee makes you poop.
It definitely does.
And I guess...
Especially if you put it with the coconut oil.
What do you think about the MCT oil?
Man,
you still use that?
I just...
We need to talk about it. This is really getting off tangent, but I'm just curious.
I do coconut oil. I don't really notice that much of a difference. I read up about it, and basically they, with MCT is just essentially coconut oil where they remove one of the fatty acids.
Really?
Yeah. It's nothing crazy about it. So I'm just like, I'm not going to. I can get coconut oil cheaper, and it seems to do this. I get the same effect on it.
Okay.
Right?
What's the effect?
So for me, when I take coconut oil with my coffee, it seems I get a better buzz from it.
Okay.
So the high lasts longer, and it seems to kind of come down slower. Whereas if I drink coffee without coconut oil, I end up crashing a little bit.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, thank you.
All right.
Thanks for your time, brother. I appreciate it as always. Thank you guys for checking out the podcast. You can follow Chewy at Jiu-Jitsu on Twitter. Also at www.jiujitsu.net. And also he's got a YouTube channel. And you guys can follow me at JiuJitsuTherapist.com. Follow the podcast on iTunes at the Jiu-Jitsu Therapist Podcast, and follow me on Twitter at Jiu-Jitsu PT And if there's any questions, you guys, please don't hesitate to ask and let me know. I appreciate your time, and see you guys next week.